finalized it, so I made them that separate budget so they could understand it better.
They only have $2,700 to spend on films.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
General supplies, $120.
And if their plan there, that they were gonna come up with, like 30,000, they were all gung ho, so I said, anything can happen, just keep raising money, and then nothing happened.
They have $1,000 on the building and plant maintenance, but nothing has been expended from that.
Luckily it's not heating season, so.
All right, so we are on the air here. All right, so we have the Finance Committee meeting starting at a few minutes after 4 o'clock on Thursday, August 29th. It's our regular meeting just for updates. And so we have our chair.
Hello. The first order of business, I guess, we can sign warrants at the end, right?
Yeah, we can sign the warrants, yes.
So the 2019 Capital Improvement Plan update on projects?
Yes, all right, very good. So we've got Robert Stackhouse, our counselor, who is the chair, and we have Heather Donahue, who is the deputy mayor on the committee, and our other 2 members are out due to vacations and illness. All right, so basically, just to update you on the capital improvement plan, we were so fortunate to have our funds come through from the bank loan with Camden National, which was exceptional to work with. And as I noted before, they emailed and gave us information and called on the weekend and evenings, which is very unusual for bank officials. So that was really good. So far we have, through the warrants, just spent a little bit under 40,000. And we'll be having quite a few bills coming in. The contract for the paving was sent out after the last council meeting. It's been sent back. We gave the notice of award to Roundy's Paving in Newport, and they were all excited about that, which is great. And they're working on and agreeable with the schedule that Public Works has given them. The paving is the largest part of the $706,000 loan. It's the $500,000 between the work that needs to be done to the roads beforehand and the paving. And so they're scheduled, as long as everything goes along the way it has been, and we are on schedule, they will pave the 3rd week of September, starting with Peltoma. So Public Works is down working on Peltoma now ditching. They expect to have all the ditching done on Friday. They did culvert work. There was one culvert they found they need to flush because it's totally filled with dirt. Over the years it just filled right in. And so that one will be flushed out. Then they plan to move the Snake Root Road, and there are 2 places on Snake Root for ditching culvert work. There may be a detour out on Snake Root because that's very narrow, whereas Peltoma is pretty wide and you can get around. So they'll be working on Snake Root Road for quite some time. And then the last one that they'll go to, thank you so much. The last one that they go to will be Detroit Avenue. And so the catch basins need to be raised on that one, and the shoulders need to be cut down. And when you drive down it, you can see what's going on.
Oh, and Peltoma, they're going to do some grinding, is that correct?
Yes, there's grinding on the
Are they going to be grinding on
outskirts.
Detroit Avenue or?
No, Detroit would just be overlay,
okay.
And it should be okay, as long as the catch basins are cut down. So part of the work at Roundy, when they come to pave, they'll be doing grinding, and then they do the paving afterwards. And their materials are all scheduled to be, that ordered by Roundy's will be here in time for them to bring them to the site so that we can work on the road. Steve is still talking about and thinking about whether he'll hire an inspector. He's going to see how the monies come along for the bids that he's done. He's been doing quotations and bids for the different materials. So we've been he's been getting those in writing, and then been accepting them for the best price so that we can do the work. And he's been ordering things as he goes along with the same price held, which is good. So we may have an inspector to be out there to watch all of the paving. We'll just see how things go, whether that will be needed. And so we are on schedule. And in terms of all the other bids that are out, there have been companies that have expressed interest in the repointing project and the roof project. Nothing on the back entrance as of yet, the walkway. And that was the one that Public Works was gonna do themselves.
I was just gonna say, I thought Public Works was.
Right, but they just don't have the time to do
Okay.
it, yeah. All right, so at this point, they're also doing some other projects, including the cleanup for the runway, for the park and for the annual cheese festival. And so that is going to take some time to do. There's approximately a half an inch of dirt all out there that needs to be scraped off. The grass needs to be mowed around that, so they're working on getting that done for additional parking. And then we'll see what is underneath the area around the runway to see if it's secure to park vehicles on or not. Because usually there's some junk out there when you put the piles up. So hopefully that will all be good. So they've got that project and paving, and that's pretty much what they're working on. And then in terms of other projects, the tiling project upstairs went exceptionally well. It's beautiful, the quality of the workmanship was wonderful. The contractor was great because I was here when the contractor was here, and they would come down and ask questions, and they were very amenable. The movers did a really good job moving everything down here. I have pictures of the entire council chambers filled with everything, all the furniture on its side, and they fit everything in. And then we had the workstation down here so I could work on the weekend. So that worked out good, so they could be in the building all weekend. When the movers came back to move things, it was a little bit more difficult because the way the staff had things moved down was sort of hector-skector. And so then it took a lot longer to get things back up there. So we're making a list of things that could be improvements if we have to move other things at another time. At some point we'll have to move stuff again upstairs for something. And so we've got a little list that we've made up. One thing that was very helpful, I have never seen all the outlets or where the telephone lines are. We just know things that go around to the backs of all the furniture, even when I arrived, before we had more paper upstairs. So I took pictures once the tiling was done and everything was final so that you could walk on it. Took pictures of all the walls, so that was very helpful because we were able to find some outlets. We've got older outlets for the prior telephone before I arrived, and then there was another telephone set and computer sets that were put in just before I arrived, and so you can see what the boxes were from the different eras and everything, so we know where everything is. So that was very helpful. And a few items did not work when we plugged them in, so we've got that all figured out now. Had to have a few companies come in, like for the photocopier and everything. Michael didn't anticipate that everything would have to be reset, so we got everything reset, but we were operational. At times only one terminal, but after a few hours that worked out too. So all in all, for corporate moves, that worked out pretty good. It's not something we want to do again. It's more complicated than the last couple of moves I had over the years, a long time ago. There's just so much material upstairs and so many items. We put things back so that we got more space in the building. Upstairs, you'll see that when you go up. We've moved the tables around a little bit in the desk, and we have not moved all the boxes back in, like in my area and a couple other areas. And so I'm weeding through things so that we can put more out back. We will need a digitization project, and what I've commented before is that, we never anticipated that we would digitize, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So all the folders that I have for all the projects, and 70 or 80 boxes here, all have paper clips, staples, little post-it notes, so everything is put together in packets so you can follow everything and know what goes on. But if you're going to digitize, you need it all loose. So Michael did a project amongst his other work. It took him 3 weeks to do 4 regular boxes, file boxes. And we've got over 100 boxes here, so we are not going to be able to do this ourselves. We're going to have to hire.
I'm not working right now, maybe I can lend a hand.
Okay, well, that would be good.
No,
It's
so
a very
what's going on?
frustrating thing because, we never anticipated, in the olden days, everything's set up so it's so easy. You just go to a file and you know exactly what went on. But this is an obstacle when you digitize because every staple has to be taken out, every paper clip off, and then you
And
have
then
to
put all
fix.
back together again.
Yeah, then you have to fix the edges so they don't stick in the copier.
So where is everything going after it's digitized?
After
Like
it's-
not digitally, but physically the boxes. Are we getting them out of here and putting them somewhere else to get them
We
out?
can either do that on some and others we can shred. Because when we digitize, we're gonna have two mediums for this in two locations. And right now we have a secure drive where we put the items and we label them in a certain pattern. And so that will be the pattern for the future. So the boxes that we did do worked out well and I was able to follow it. It's all just, every document is just right after each other. So, I can figure it out. 20 years, it might be hard for somebody else to look at it, or 10 years, or what have you. So we're gonna do a few more boxes when we have time, and then see if we wanna set this up differently. We did it to do it as fast as possible, to see how it would work. I understand it, but I'm not sure that somebody else new coming in would understand, because everything is together and there's no dividers, within the whole box now. I can figure it out, but I suspect it might be difficult for somebody in the future. So I'm gonna think about how to do that. If we hire a company, we can set up dividers, for everything, and actually insert those pretty easily, and then they can, do the project. We'll have to figure that out. That is something we have to address. We wouldn't keep a lot of items, but there are some legal, personnel, some of the economic development projects, the TIFs have to be kept, so there's different areas that we would
That's
have.
what I was just gonna ask. I know at the hospital we have a certain number of years we have to keep records.
Yes.
Then you can destroy them. Is that
Mhm.
same with
It's the same, however, we've got some
Town.
sensitive items that.
right? And I know like birth certificates and death certificates. Those will probably have to keep forever, I would imagine.
Yes, those are.
But I know some things you can, after 7 years or 10 years, you can get rid of.
Yes, you can, and we've got a safe of those things. What we're looking at now are all the project folders and all the, extra financial and the reconciliations, and there's some items that we can dispose of, and then others we're gonna wanna keep. For example, when I arrived, the town was throwing away some items that, luckily they missed a box, that dealt with taxes and everything. There was an individual once sued the town, stating that something hadn't been done correctly, and somebody wanted to buy the property. So we were fortunate that by some stroke of luck, all the boxes that were disposed of and burned at that time, one part of a box was not, and it was in with something else, and we found it from sorting the boxes, and we were able to avert a lawsuit. So some of these things are sensitive and helpful, even though under the law you can dispose of them, having them is very helpful. So if you think you have some problematic items, you should keep those boxes, but there's reconciliations, extra reconciliations that I've done over the years, and if we just put those into the file driver, under specific names, that should be fine, and we can dispose of those, because we'll have the copy. And we would have a copy off-site, and then a drive here that only a couple of people can access. That way you can't, by mistake, delete something, which does happen in our regular drive that we all share. We each have our own drive, and then we have one that we share between all of us, and once in a while somebody deletes something out by mistake, or they move it someplace, and then you gotta look for it. So these files, because we're disposing of most of the boxes, they have to be secure. So it has to be in a drive that only a couple of people have access to. Then they can get the information out for the others. So I think this will be a major project that we will have to look at. There's some other different projects that have come up that people have mentioned that we should add in once we get to next year's capital improvement plan. So we've been writing those down, such as the blinking sign, or a display sign for outside the office. It's not tacky or unprofessional, but a sign that could help people know when meetings take place, for example.
Like something Palmyra has, you mean?
Yes, yes, there may be a way to have one that's a bit more attractive. Some towns don't like to have the flashy
Right,
ones,
yeah.
but,
Skowhegan's is nice.
pardon?
Skowhegan has a nice one outside
Mhm.
their, I think it's their fire station,
Mhm,
police
mhm.
station there.
Yep, I'll have to look at some different examples. Those can be anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000. So I was hoping that we could get a grant for that, although I have not found anything yet. But there may be something. So there's a variety of little projects like that. Plus, we did talk about putting monies away in a separate legal account for code enforcement violations. Because we have gone as far as we can with the current code officer. He's very, very nice, and people sort of, take advantage of that at times. And we can try some other avenues, such as, indicate we're going to discuss this at a council meeting, and then perhaps that will, get some action going. But other than that, we're going to need to take a couple of people to court at least. Because the buildings are so far gone, they're gonna have to be taken down. And I don't think we're gonna end up with all the costs for that.
Is the Leonard Street one, is that all taken care of now, or is that still going on?
That has started up again. It was all taken care of, it was very good. But these are often, habits.
Right.
And so the habit comes back for having the junk and the collectibles.
I see somebody putting a mobile home or something in beside him. I don't know why they want to do that.
Yeah,
Hopefully there's a good hedge between.
there's a lot of material up there again. It's because
I haven't been by
people
it.
go back to their habits.
Mhm.
So there's a few places that people can't live in that need to get straightened out. And then there's some junky yards here that are bothering the neighbors. The place on Peltoma Avenue where the people walked away from the building, and because of its condition, and the bank foreclosed, and then the bank came and looked at it, and then they gave it back to the people, but didn't tell them, they just signed it back.
Yeah.
And we found out and contacted
That's because
them.
the bank didn't want it either, right?
The bank didn't want it, it's a liability.
Yeah.
The trees have grown up inside the building. There's actually trees inside the building.
Yes, right, that's one right on the corner of Peltoma.
Yes, in fact, if you drive by, nobody complains anymore because you can't see the building. There's so many trees. So we have a few code items like that that are gonna need assistance. So the only way this is really going to be taken care of is that we've got to put the money in a separate fund and use it for code enforcement. So that will be an item too. And then there's a few other capital projects that have been mentioned. We do need to, it's kind of ironic, we did all the work on the Sebastopol double culverts, which was a very good project, and we still have the abutment work that needs to be done to the Mosher Bridge. So that one we knew we needed.
That's the one on Ewire,
Mosher is,
on Mount Road or Ewire.
pardon?
That's a bridge on Mount Road or Ewire Road or?
No, that's got a name similar. If it's not called Eelwile, it has another name that's very similar to that. The Mosher one is on Crawford Road.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so that's the old bridge that got
Yeah,
given back to the town. Yeah, abutment work is needed, and the state just contacted us, and Steve Vance, Public Works Foreman, and I thought this was kind of ironic. We were all so proud of the Sebastopol culverts and how well that worked. So the state actually went in and inspected culvert number 2, which is the one beside it, and said it has holes in the bottom, needs to be fixed. They hadn't gone in that one before, they'd only gone in number 1, so now they headed to number 2. So we'll have to do some work there. He did have the contractor go over and fix one of the sides with some grout, which helped with an erosion place, but we didn't have any money.
We didn't do both culverts when
We did the one which was the double culverts, but there's another culvert.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's like Sebastopol, they call it Sebastopol Bridge 1. We did that Sebastopol Bridge 2, which is the second culvert, that's further down. So we're gonna have to do that one now. So we'll do bid spec for that and Mosher. Now, the one item that's gonna be good on the capital improvements in the budget is that we have all the setup now. So once we get going on the budget, we can actually put our RFPs to get going for the next year or use the RFPs we have to issue those in January, February, when people don't have work, and then we'll get
Better
good
pricing.
pricing. Yep, so we've got the whole setup on everything, so that should work really good, and we're getting bid prices now for the budget for some of the projects, so we'll get onto a schedule that should work really well for the future. And we've got a lot of documents now too. For the budget process 2020, all of the budget sheets, whether they be for the regular capitals, the regular budget, vehicles, and then the additionals went out, and with the exception of the two new department heads or supervisors, the librarian, Holly, who got a promotion to librarian from assistant librarian, and Jamie, who is in charge of the theater. They're the only ones that have asked any questions or been in. They've talked quite a bit to me about their budgets. The others are all used to the process, or they're too busy to get to the budget. But budgets are due next week, so then we'll be in a little time crunch here to start on all of the steps and everything. So I think that's just a very quick update here on the projects, as in terms of the largest project and the paving and everything, which is the $500,000, and then a brief report on the $206,000 on the projects that are listed. So there is some interest in the roof, and we are doing the roof up here a few years earlier than when it probably will be a major problem, which is good. If we can do it now, that would be good, or if it's spring, that will be good. We'll be ahead of this, which is not our usual situation. I found some bid documents where you did half of the roof up here in like 1984 or so. But when you do parts of the roof, there's a seam that's left,
Right.
and that's where we have some
The
issues.
leaks and
But the
problems.
yearly maintenance is very helpful. We have yearly maintenance out now. We're on the list for the roofing company, and they are very, very backed up. But we're on that for the theater and the library. And then I didn't put this one in, but if we do not do the roof this year, just due to the timing, and we see that, I'll schedule its maintenance, because they said that they would do this one when they came over to do the other two, if we let them know in time. Yeah. So that's where we're at.
I have one question real quick, and I don't know if this was for this budget or for next budget, but the phone system,
Yes.
the RFP for that, have we done anything with that, or is that for next year?
Yeah, we put the RFP out, and because we're not going to actually buy all this equipment, we would lease it,
Oh, we're gonna lease it?
or lease purchase.
I guess that was part of my question about how we're
Yes.
gonna deal with that.
Yeah, we can do that, because right now it looks like with the bids that we have, Michael didn't get enough time to look them over and do all the background and research and everything. So we couldn't put it on this agenda, but it'll be on the next agenda. I tried to figure out how we could just wiggle it on.
And with a lease,
Yeah, we would lease.
right, but it'd be lease, I mean, your upgrades, when the upgrades come out, we'd be upgraded as they come out, or would that be?
And the one that I looked at, we looked at the one that Michael liked, which was not low bidder. I have to wait to look at each of them, but the one that probably is the best for the long term, yes, we would get the upgrades. Yeah, but anything that we got now would be such an upgrade to what we have. You know, it comes with its own little server, so it's not part of our server. The phone systems that are promoted come over the internet, so we won't be using the wall jacks and all of that. So this will be interesting. But if our internet doesn't work, the phone won't work, and so this is something that's, you know, right now our phones always work no matter what. You know, because we have the backup generator, so the phones are on it, and the generator works. You know, so that is the one downfall, although we'll probably save money over the 5-year period versus our phone bills now. Yeah, so the phone cost is supposed to be less. We would have all our current numbers. We can add on numbers without an additional cost. I asked like 13 questions in looking through the bids. And it looks really good. So generally, with a lease or lease purchase, we can do an order at the council meeting. Hopefully that will be the case with this one. So I just got the answers back today. to help out Michael here, so we can get this on the next agenda. And so I'm gonna contact the town attorney and make sure we can do the order. That means just one agenda item and not a public hearing and everything.
Do you have an idea what the cost savings per year is?
Well, that, we're gonna need to ask other
Oh,
questions. They're saying, the paper that the bidder put in, that we're looking at, states that it will be $206 versus our current bill of $800, but it's really not. That's after 5 years of payment, so we need to delve into this a little bit. It looks like 5 years from now, it will be, only cost $200 or so per month versus $800. But right now, it doesn't. So I better ask some more questions. You know, the bid documents are like this.
Right,
So
yeah.
I just skimmed them through and asked 13 questions, and so I said I told them I have a few more questions, and they did answer them really well. But I have expertise in the phone system area, so I might have had to ask more questions.
And would it be another shutdown day to transfer this stuff over, or would they do it on the weekend, or?
No, I think that we might just have, it might just go over pretty well, or it might go over in stages. We have to do what's called portable. We have to port them over, so that will all have to be arranged. There's like 3 different, there's something to do with the dial tone, that's one contractor. There's our contractor, and then there's the current system and how they have to be moved over. So this is like a 3-step thing. And as I recall, I've done this once before, it wasn't this complicated. They did it during the day and it was smooth and everything went over. You know, we were worried we wouldn't have the phones. But right now the phones work like 90% of the time, but there's no rhyme or reason as to when the answering service comes on. There's no reason. It works fine, the phones are ringing off the hook, and then somebody will call in and they go to the answering service, you know, even though we turned it off. It's just some sort of quirk in an old system. And we found some of the older documents, and evidently when we bought the system, you know, in 1981, it was old then, you know, so this is a very old system, which
Actually,
worked well until last year.
We changed that in 19.
You did something in
98 or
1990,
9.
1997 you did something. Yeah, there's 1981 documents up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I first got on the council, that was one of the first things that happened when I was on the council. We changed that phone system. So.
Yeah, you had, I think
I think it was
1997.
98. I think it was 98. It might have been 97.
I think it was 1997. And then Michael found some documents that say 1981 on them, so he's saying that's the phone
Yeah, I wasn't even in
system.
town then.
Yeah, so I don't know, I
must have
know
been
it's
a
an
system
old
before.
system, that when you review it online, there's groups set up that the people are in there trying to figure out how to make the system work. You know, they're all talking in these little groups, user groups. So it'll be good to have a new phone system of some sort here. We're doing the best we can. The customers have been very understanding, because you can get 90 phone calls and 3 will go amok, you know. But there's no rhyme or reason. All right, so we've got that. The generator came in for the RFP, and the price was very high, a little bit over 50,000, and we had put 50,000 in the budget, and that item had been cut, which is understandable. So we will need to put that in for 2020. Anything you can think of, Heather? We've got the system set up, we got the bid specs for the paving, so we'll see how well those go. So we'll have those to issue early next year if you do paving next year, and I assume you will.
I was gonna say, has Steve decided what he wants to do next year for paving, or?
We
What
have the
roads?
roads that were left over on the list. Higgins definitely has to be number 1, at least in his opinion, in my opinion. It really needs to be
No,
done.
Waverly was one. I think that upper end of Waverly by the golf course, that's horrible.
There's a small section that would need to
Yeah,
be
from the town
done.
garage up,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we'll have to break that up. But you've got other sections of Snake Root Road. I think Central Street is really breaking up, and that one you know, we need to pave sections of that, it had high traffic
Mhm.
here.
What about the library street? Amanda had mentioned it a couple times.
That's gonna have to be a
Mentions whole
major
reconstruction. That's
project.
like water sewer relocation and clean out and that type of stuff. Is that something that the water sewer funds would cover as far as like the grant work that we can get from the state to do that, or?
So we got one Northern Regional Border Commission grant for Madawaska. And so it has to be something tied to an economic development item, so that was tied to SAS. Um,
But we don't have any
For Library
money
Street,
in there.
yeah, there's, right, but at the time we did,
Mhm.
and so they let us keep the money. You know, it still can, somebody can go in, and interesting enough, the trust called and stated they wanted to move the building,
Nice.
which is shocking.
Nice.
And
Good.
so I've got a list of things that I'm gonna go look for
Get a
them
peek on
for.
that.
Yeah.
Tell them this is all you have to do.
Yes, yes.
This is your one job.
Yes, that's right, you need to move that building.
Which building's that?
SAS building, the trust called and
Oh.
actually was interested in doing something, which is unusual, you could call them a lot. I called, you remember I called
It
them
should've
so
been
much
interested
and we went up
6
so
years ago when
much.
people wanted to buy it.
I know, all those people, 14 deals.
Well, you know, things are moving all around the state, and there's projects going everywhere, so there might be an interest in it.
That would be
There's a lot of
good.
things happening
Well, you can do something
around
fast,
our
and it's just gonna sit there and rot if you don't.
The building's deteriorating fast.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
It
definitely.
really,
Especially since there's nobody taking
It's
care of
too
it anymore.
bad.
Mhm.
It's too bad because it was a usable building.
It was, yeah.
It's getting pretty bad.
Yeah, the manufacturing facility from 1974 is still very good because it's secure. The rest of the building, once the little arsonist thing happened, that was open for a while and then the vandals got in. It appears like youth got in and they made symbols like a gang would do, but you can tell they're not a gang because
They
they're
don't know what they're
trying to
doing.
make gang things that
Yeah.
didn't look right. Unfortunately, they smashed all of the light bulbs and stuff,
Yeah.
and so I haven't been in there since that time. We tried to walk through, and it just wasn't good. You can't bring anyone in there unless they're really a developer that wants it for like zero, you know, for a small amount of money. So that'll be interesting. But yes, there is more activity going on. So for Library Street, we're going to have to look at a rate increase for water sewer. And so that's one of the projects I'd like to have all of our associates work on. That was something the staff was to talk to them about last year. And so we need to pursue that as part of their monthly contract here. First, they've been dealing with the plant and improvements and enhancements that we're working on. The proper flushing of the system, which has greatly helped with the manganese in an area, so that was good. And so we're gonna do all these maintenance type things first, then we're on to the enhancements here. That will be next.
Are we still gonna do like a cost analysis of having them
Yes,
do handling and before we
Yes.
go into budgeting for?
yes. That's gonna be in a strict time frame here, but we feel that we have to get everything into order, so if somebody bids on that, they understand what they're bidding on, which has taken a bit of time. And so, yes, that's gonna be a major project. It'll be ongoing as we're in the budget process. But I do like the idea of having an engineering firm involved with the water sewer, which has always been a challenge for the staff, because I think you had 4 people when, oh yes, you had 4 people when I came here, and then that was cut to 2, I think that first year at council request. And so you have 2 people running around, you know, working on things and trying to do everything. And I think having the engineering company in some form or other involved gives you the expertise from the whole engineering company in the different areas. So somehow we need to keep the engineers involved, even if we have staff, you know, more staff there. But we definitely need to look at different options. So I think that's pretty much it, going over everything. The warrants came down. We've got payment number 2 was received from the contractor for the Northern Regional Border Commission grant. And so I have to cut that all off and send in all the reports and the reimbursements shortly here. We just needed to get the more boxes out of the way.
And, what's the other thing I was gonna ask about? I don't remember now.
Yeah, we could try, yeah, that's okay.
Company when you walk back, yeah.
We could try under the Oliver Associates, let's see how this will work here. Oliver Associates, monthly contract price to look at Library Street from the water angle, and then maybe try to deal with the other areas too along with that.
Are there
Good
water
idea.
sewer issues in there right now, or is it just drainage and the road?
The pipes I've been told are old and that there are issues.
So if we're gonna pave it, we should replace the pipes first.
Oh, yes, I think so, yes. If we're gonna rebuild the road, we might as well fix
So that's gonna be a
some.
whole rebuild, right? That's, you're not gonna be able to just overlay that, or,
That would have to be,
yeah, you're gonna dig it all up
we're gonna
and
have to dig it out. I mean, that is,
put a new base in and the whole works. and-
that just has problems, the whole road. You know what's sad, and interesting too, is that there are a lot of the roads here that we're having problems with were rebuilt, and there are bid documents from the 80s, and there was a full-time inspector there, so you have to, it's kind of curious, it should last like 50 years, you know, not 20 or 30. So I'm not sure if the inspectors were there all the time, or, you know, maybe the building, the specifications weren't as detailed as they should have been, you know. Who knows?
I remembered my question. When is our next budget workshop?
Yes, so
Is
on
that
the,
after the next meeting?
it is, yes. So let's pull that out. So we are here on the 29th. So the budgets come in next week. I put them together with the staff. You all will review them at your next budget, your next finance committee meeting on 9/12. So it's like a little budget meeting. And then the council sees it in October. October 11th is completed budgets to the town councilors, so you all see what gets submitted on 9/12, and you get a packet ahead of time.
I won't be here for that meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead and send me the packet, but,
Yeah. Yep.
we're going to the Big E, so.
You're going where?
Springfield,
Big E, Eastern States.
Springfield.
Yeah, we're gonna go and vend in the main state building for 3 days, so.
Hmm?
Bring a little mean cheese down there, sell it to people. Yeah, we're packing up and leaving on the 12th right after chores, and
Mhm.
we'll be back until Monday, late in the day.
All right, very good. Well, there'll be plenty of time for you to look at all the budgets. And I'm sure I will not have everything.
So the council, so the finance committee meeting will get the budgets
Mhm.
when? The 9th?
You'll get them ahead of the meeting on the 12th, depending on how they come in and how much work we have to do on them.
Okay, and then the council doesn't see it until the 17th,
Until October.
October?
Yeah, you have 2 finance committee meetings, because we talked about how I'm not gonna get all the budgets, I'm gonna have to work with some of the
Right.
department heads.
So
So you'll
we were
get
gonna
some,
look at the first ones and then.
and then you'll
okay.
get some at the second one. Yeah, and I'll make sure you get them ahead of time.
So the actual council doesn't have another budget workshop until October?
Correct, yes. You actually have 3 finance committee meetings before the town councilors get their budget, which is scheduled for October 11th. So you'll have 3 meetings.
Well, we have one on the 12th, the finance committee has a meeting on the 12th, right? Instead of the 17th meeting.
Yes, yes.
And then
You'll have
the
one.
26th.
26th, yeah, and then you'll have one on October 10th. So you'll be budgeted out by the time you, the council does the budget. Yes, I've got a lot to do on the budget, but I need to get the tiling project done. And then Michael's supposed to get the date when it will be done down here, which will be so much easier. We only need to move this material out and make sure we don't,
This room and the walkway up there, or just this room here?
just this room. We also have to do the code enforcement officer's room too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there's a little fire area that we might do if it's fixed. We got the estimate for it. Yeah, you'll like the tile. It's it's very good to walk on, because when we're walking around up there, it's not all, carpeting. It's very firm.
Yeah, we can hear it down here.
Yeah, we were
Oh.
marking on it's not as quiet as it was, but we won't hear the vacuum during the meetings anymore.
Yeah, that's true, because we don't use it yet.
I was just thinking too, standing on tile, you might want to get some cushy mats for
Yes.
the counter there where people are going to be standing a lot, and maybe in front of the copier.
Yeah, we talked about that. We've got some other maps that we might try first, and then we'll see where we need them and how we need them. Yeah. Yeah, very good. So anything else we can think of? We got some warrants to
Sign
sign.
warrants and we'll do a tile inspection.
Yes, you will like that. All right, so who wants the warrant first?
Switch back and forth.
Okay.
You wanna give one, are there two there?
All right, one didn't get into, all right, she's got two previews here, so we'll give you two. And we'll give you one. And when you need the book, let me know. Yes, and we have a lefty here.
Is she left-handed?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, we got a lefty here. I know, I have to turn them around.
The girl I work with is pretty much a lefty, and so when we put stickers on the cheese, she always starts on the right hand side of the page. So I'm like, what are you doing? Start from the left, work to the right. She's like, no. Where am I signing on
All right, so
this?
that
Sign on
is,
this?
yeah, that is the grant. There's just one in that one. And then you can follow in the book here.
Oh, that's what I'm missing.
Yes.
Like, why does this not make sense?
Yeah, she puts extra ones on the top of them because she looks through them to check out things. Everybody's got their own process.
Catherine, the new police car, are we gonna letter that, or is that just a mistake, unmarked?
Finding somebody to letter it, I think, wasn't it? There was a delay.
Yes, there is, it's scheduled for, the new vehicle is scheduled, it needs to have markings under the town police policies and the SOP, and just for safety and everything, it needs that. So yes, that's scheduled.
And with the SRO not having an SRO right now, I guess, is that correct, or?
Actually, that's all worked out, so yes, we do have the SRO.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it Officer Cody?
Yes, he's all excited. The school's excited. We had an excellent meeting.
So he
and-
will have a car then?
Yes.
Okay. And is Mike, what's going on with Mike? Can we talk, is that something to talk about or not? Mike Gray.
He's looking at all his options, of which he appears to have multiple options.
Is he still employed in the town right now, or?
He just did some details.
Okay.
He told me he had 90 hours between all of his jobs. Police officers are in high demand.
Yeah, I was just wondering, he was worried about his benefits, I don't know.
All right, so let's see, we're all set with our meeting. So we're adjourning.
We will adjourn.
All right.
Are you in favor of that, Heather?
Yep, I'm good with it.
We are adjourned.
We're adjourned.